Hey guys, bit of a shorter video today. I want to talk about something that I thought is pretty important, as this is going to lead into some of the videos I'm going to be talking about later on my channel. Now, this is something that is kind of important to talk about as it relates to Gordon Ramsay. Thankfully, he is okay, as we can see on the screen here. He had a bit of a bike accident, and because he wore a helmet, he's okay. Now, obviously, in today's age of idiots on Twitter being idiots on Twitter, as they usually are. Um, there's always going to be drama about everything, and unfortunately, something as common sense as wearing a helmet while you're bicycling seems to have a lot of drama around it. Uh, there is something I'm going to talk about, however, that's going to go a little further than that. So before we begin, I'm gonna show you a video by a YouTuber I've been watching for, God, over 10 years now, probably. Here's his video, and I'm gonna show you exactly what the issue is.
So he is definitely their fiercest warrior opposed to helmets. Now, he makes arguments that helmets do nothing to mitigate serious injury. They only help with like scrapes and bruises, maybe, but doesn't actually do anything to contribute to cycling safety and calls them an unnecessary distraction.
See, now this is one of the important things we need to talk about, which is helmets have nothing to do with safety. Of course they do. Helmets are one of the most important safety equipment you could wear, not just on a cycling, but also on a construction site. You know, you're not going to get hit by a car while you're at a construction site, but there's a small chance that something could fall and hit your head. It's small, but it could still happen. And if it happens, you're going to get badly hurt. It's not going to be anybody's fault except your own if you didn't wear a helmet. You know, you can't blame somebody else because you didn't wear a helmet when it's the law and the rule to wear your helmet for your own safety. So if you don't wear a helmet, you can't sue, the construction site for, making a dangerous environment when you're not taking your own safety in regard.
Big issue that needs to be addressed is fixing infrastructure and driver policing.
And that's definitely something
Now, let's
that's an unfortunate place to pause. Um, Driver policing is important. Also, if y'all have seen bad drivers, but you know what? We're also gonna always see bad cyclists. Are you gonna enforce a cyclist running a stop sign, and then getting hit, and then saying, "Oh, you know what? If that cyclist was wearing a helmet, he would have been okay," or it doesn't matter whether that cyclist was wearing a helmet or not. The car hit him, and whether he was wearing a helmet or not, he would have still gotten hit. Well, obviously, a helmet is not going to protect him if he gets hit from the side, but he's still going to, land on his side and his head could potentially hit the pavement. But the issue there isn't whether or not he's wearing a helmet or not. The issue is he ran a stop sign. Now, I don't know whether, what happened with Gordon Ramsay. He's not really the person I want to address here. So we're going to go further along and I'm going to show you who the real problem in this situation is.
say Gordon Ramsay subscribed to this guy's belief system. He'd be dead. If he viewed helmets as an unnecessary distraction, Gordon Ramsay would be 6 feet under right now, fucking making risottos up in heaven. So,
Yeah, so honestly, it's exactly what I was saying here, right? Wearing a helmet is exactly what saved Gordon's life in this situation. Now, I can skip a little ahead, for the sake of saving you a little bit of time. I recommend just watching his entire video in its entirety to get the full understanding of exactly what he's saying. But what's important is what he's going to talk about in a moment.
I also just don't understand what it's a distraction from. Is it distracting you from sending your 4,000th tweet in the last 24 hours? Like, how is it an unnecessary distraction? It takes fucking 5 seconds to put a helmet on.
And honestly, that seems to be way too much for some people, right? Wearing a helmet isn't exactly the most difficult thing to do in the world. Little kids put on helmets when they go cycling, but a lot of the people who are making these arguments online aren't kids. No, they're not kids. They're adults, and you would think grown adults would know better, but in 99% of these situations, it's the adults that are not able to hold them, have any amount of accountability. They're the ones who are choosing to break the rules, and when something happens and they need to face the consequences, they're gonna lie down the ground and they're gonna start screaming and shaking their hands and saying, "No, it's not my fault. It's not fair. Wah wah wah." Right?
Fighting a ghost here in the comments. He keeps thinking that everyone's saying that a helmet solves all the biking related.
So he uploads this little picture, and it has what protects people, and it's just helmets. And then there's like all these other things that you need to do, like enforcing speed limits, which has nothing to do with cycling, and a lot of other car measures, which um, is usually perpetuated by a lot of people who are trying to make car-free cities and ban cars from cities in every way they can. Again, that's going to be things I'm going to talk about later, as you will see. But even in this hypothetical made-up dystopia where people aren't allowed to have cars, you know what's going to happen? Even if you in this world you don't wear a helmet, you can still get yourself badly hurt, and that's something that they are not incapable of understanding. And it's going to be something else that I'm going to talk about, where the source of this picture and where these ideas come from and who these trolls on Twitter are from. Here, let me just move this a little bit to the side so you can see a little bit better all these different pictures they have on the screen. None of it is actually based on any level of statistics. A lot of these things are either made up or are fear mongering to kind of basically relate to the lowest common denominator. Take those issues and say, see this? Do you see this? Bicyclists, not wearing their helmet is not the issue here. The issue is other people driving their cars. Those are the real villains here. We need to stop them at every possible thing we can. Cars being just a tool of transportation and something people use to take their kids to work or go on a nice road trip, into being sent from the devil himself, if you subscribe to religion. And that's exactly what they've done. They've turned cycling into a cult pretty much. Now, before we exit out of his video, which again, I recommend you watch in its entirety, just gonna let him finish with these last words and I'm gonna switch over.
Bit. You can do both things. Again, a helmet is not this end all be all of safety, this panacea that cures any possible problem with like cycling safety, but it is something that undeniably helps. Another thing this cringe vulture and a few others like him do in the comment section is latch on to this idea that we don't wear helmets while driving, which makes everyone a hypocrite because
And honestly, this is yet another picture that's sent through a lot of these cycling groups, a lot of these sources, which almost all exclusively come from Dutch, which a lot of these cyclists are all taking all of their information from the Dutch and trying to make the entire world adopt a more kind of a way of life in other parts of the world. Which, I mean, if you love the Dutchland so much, you can always just go there. But the rest of us, not everybody wants to turn the rest of the world into Amsterdam or any of these other Dutch cities.
do in the comment section is latch on to this idea that we don't wear helmets while driving, which makes everyone a hypocrite because driving causes a lot of head injuries. Basically just keeps reiterating, why aren't you wearing a helmet while driving a car? You absolute goober, when you drive a car, most people wear a seatbelt to improve their odds of surviving a crash. The car is also equipped with safety equipment such as airbags to help keep you alive in the event of a crash. On a bike, what do you have? Did you put any
See, that's exactly such a great comeback to a lot of these cyclists who always have these things that they think are points that they made up while taking a shower, if they ever do. And what a lot of the things they say, if you ever, give it a second of thought, you can easily, clap back and say, hold on. I just thought about this a little bit. I just gave 2 seconds more thought than you ever did. And there's your answer right there. Did you ever even think of that? Did you consider that? And a lot of them I guess because they didn't wear a helmet, have suffered too many concussions to kind of get those ideas.
Ejector seat on your bike to immediately get out of a tricky situation. You put a baseball card in the spokes of your bike and then installed some fucking airbags down there too to keep you alive? No. The only thing that you can really do here on a bike in this context is wear a helmet. That would be the equivalent of wearing a seatbelt while driving. You're making dog shit arguments for an indefensible position. Don't wear helmets. You're a fucking lunatic. It sounds like you've already hit your head and you want more people to join you there. He even has
And, they're also going to keep going and make a lot of these. So I'm just going to stop here. You can watch the whole video if you want. But what I want to talk about is where this is even coming from, right? So who's making these ideas? Who's giving them these pointers? Where's it all coming from? Penguins is a YouTuber with 15 million subscribers. The person who's making these videos is a much smaller channel, but it definitely has no small following himself. He's a YouTuber by the name of Not Just Bikes, who makes a lot of these videos, and all of his videos resort basically just come down to, what we can do instead of wearing a helmet? Just ban cars from all cities. Like, look how good Amsterdam is because they removed so many of their streets and turned them into pedestrianized streets where cars can drive through. And look how bad Houston is because Houston is like the car utopia where everybody drives a car to get everywhere. And that's a bad thing because cars are bad. So that's definitely something that is unfortunately being taken from this YouTuber and is being spread around by a lot of people. So I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about through his videos. So by changing tabs here, we have a somewhat recent video of his from, I guess, 5 months ago, and it already has 1.4 million views, which is more than he has subscribers of. So he's definitely getting some good numbers here of the messages he's pushing. And what he ranks one of the best cities in America, being Montreal, is how much they've removed from cars to give to the bicycles, and that's basically his metric. If a city has removed a street and blocked it from cars and instead allows only pedestrians and cyclists, that's a good thing, and that means a higher ranking. And if a city allows cars to drive through it, then that's a bad thing. So that's demerit points. So before we get into that, let's just play the video as it relates exactly to what Charlie was talking about.
But if you e-bike in Montreal, you are required to wear a helmet, and that includes the Bixie bikes. So I bought one at a local bike shop. Which honestly was fine, because there were several times where I didn't feel comfortable cycling without a helmet. I guess living in Amsterdam has made me soft.
Now, in this video, as he even said himself, he still has to wear a helmet, as is the laws here, but he's clearly not very fond of having to wear a helmet, as he's clearly shown that is not exactly something he does when he's in Amsterdam. Um, and for some reason, Amsterdam has made him soft, whereas the Montreal streets are very tough. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't stop there, right? Because if his only bad point here was, like I had to wear a helmet, but I really don't want to because I don't wear a helmet in Amsterdam, then, it would be so minimal that I wouldn't even bother making the video. Unfortunately, the reason I made this video is because of two other things he says that are a lot more concerning if you actually ever watch his videos and you're actually paying attention to them instead of kind of having them to the side where you can ignore what he's talking about and say, you did your job and you're now a professional urban planner. So I'm gonna skip a little further ahead into this video and let me know if you think that this is a smart thing to say or if this is a lunatic. So we're at minute 28 and 3 seconds.
Streets in North America is the ridiculous number of stop signs. Sorry, I mean arrête signs. Thankfully, Montreal cyclists ignore stop signs, which they should because stop signs are stupid and should not be used in this way, as I've talked about in a previous video.
And I mean, what more can I say, right? Stop signs or arrest signs, if you're French, are stupid. There's too many of them, and if you're a cyclist, then you should be able to ignore them because they're stupid, unless you're in a car, because cars are bad and stop signs are bad. So you should stop at stop signs because, again, cars are bad, stop signs are bad, and cyclists are not bad, so they're allowed to skip as many stop signs as they wish. And if they're in Amsterdam, they cannot wear a helmet. Makes sense to me, I guess, or if I was, not riding my bike without a helmet and I faced a severe brain injury. Unfortunately, this guy makes a lot of other videos, which um, if you guys wish, I can talk about his videos and we can sit down and do entire React videos, sitting down and minute by minute playing and pausing and talking about every little thing he says. I can play the rest of the video, you can watch it yourself, but that is exactly what he said. Um, and unfortunately, a lot of the other people that are making arguments like this are going to be exactly taking their notes from people like Not Just Spikes. Unfortunately, however, he doesn't stop there, right? He's not just talking about, don't wear a helmet, you'll be completely fine, because car stops at stop signs, so bicyclists don't need to worry about them, and you don't need to wear a helmet, stuff like that. Unfortunately, he takes his fight against cars one step further. So if we go to this other video, which has 5 million views, and it's something that during the time he uploaded was something that you kind of couldn't ignore on the internet because his followers were just spreading all over the internet like a bubonic plague, is this little thing here that is one of the reasons which I'm so critical of this person.
Some people are taking matters into their own hands. A group
They could
calling themselves
find.
the Tire Extinguishers have started deflating the tires of SUVs in Europe.
It's unclear whether this is a crime.
Their
It
stated
is a
goal is
crime.
to make it impossible to own an SUV in the city.
Their goal is they basically taken upon themselves to make it impossible to own your own vehicle that you paid for the taxes, bought the vehicle with your own hard-earned money from your work, pay insurance on. You're not allowed to have it because this person decided you shouldn't be allowed to have it.
Now, obviously, this is really extreme behavior, but let's be clear. This group only exists because of the complete and utter regulatory silence that has come from city and federal governments when it comes to curbing the problems caused by SUVs in cities.
See, it's not these persons' fault. These people are heroes. It's the fault of the politicians who are um, causing this to happen. And I mean, I love talking ill about politicians. I will talk ill about them all day, every day. But how much of a cognitive dissonance can you have to watch someone go around deflating tires and say, oh no, these guys are the heroes here. The real problem are people that are like, just like making laws. And as you can see, a lot of the laws they're making is creating bicycle infrastructure and a lot of these other things that, as he said, make it the best city in America. So is it really politicians who are the problem here if they're doing everything that you want them to do? Well, maybe the problem isn't the SUV owners or the politicians. The problem is the cyclists who are taking it upon themselves to go around deflating people's tires.
It's hard to stay humble when they keep telling you you're the best. Best in class V6 horsepower and
This is a
best in
funny ad
class
to
rear
get.
leg lift. The Maserati Grecale, part of the all-new
Well,
Maserati.
I'm gonna skip this ad because I don't want him to get any kind of payment for that. But you basically see his excuse there. He's basically glorifying their actions, and I will show later because this is something I've been meaning to talk about a long time ago when this video was originally posted. They're calling themselves terrorists, and that's exactly what they are. They're eco-terrorists, and by going around destroying people's properties and cars. They're doing exactly what this YouTuber wants, you know. Don't wear your helmet, don't stop at stop signs, run as many stop signs as you want without a helmet, and go around and deflate people's tires. Now, he showed a little bit of a less extreme take on the video. Um, and I've been at the mercy of this before because I've had one of my tires lose this little plastic thing that keeps air in there. But however, thankfully I had a extra part around and I quickly sealed it. Unfortunately, you know, if someone was driving an older car without these sensors, um, and they're on the road. God knows what could have happened if one of these people had done something worse to their car. You know, deflating air in a tire isn't the worst thing that they can do to stop someone if those people will um, want to stop people driving their SUVs. You know, these fire extinguishers don't go around just like deflating tires by taking up the little plastic bit of the tire. That doesn't really deflate the tire all that much. What they really do is sometimes they take it upon themselves to grab a knife and puncture the tire. We see a lot of people take one step further by going underneath cars and stealing catalytic converters and stuff like that. So, um, being how easy it is in cities in Canada and America, especially, um, people go underneath cars and do all kinds of damage. And if this is the kind of thing that Nudger Spike and his followers want to promote, then I think we know that. We know what their real concern is. People who promote such dangerous ideas as Nudger Spikes and all of his friends.